Cool. We're live, and we'll continue to let people gather and enjoy the MSP Experience Lounge. This is our inaugural event, and super excited to talk to you, Robert, and catch up on things. And we'll give it a couple minutes to let folks filter into the
Well,
lounge. But
thank thank you for having me here today, Bryce.
oh, absolutely, yeah, yeah. So I'll maybe wait for a couple of seconds for the bios and things, and just make sure no one misses any of that. But I know that you're leading a peer group recently, doing some travel recently. How have things been recently?
Yeah, I was in St. Pete's Beach, Florida, St. Petersburg, last week for IT Nation Evolve peer group meetings. I transitioned from a member right around 2020 to becoming a full-time facilitator. I shouldn't say full-time facilitator. Let me revise that statement. I've picked up two different peer groups. So IT Nation peer groups meet Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursday, Fridays. So I have a Monday, Tuesday group and a Thursday, Friday group. And it's really such an awesome experience to not only facilitate and lead a group or two different groups of very smart, very passionate people, but I also learn so much, Bryce.
Hmm.
I mean, and that's a consistent thing that I always talk about that maybe we can touch on a little bit today about how community has provided so much for me personally, me professionally, our company. And if you're not involved in a community in some way, shape, or form or another, then you're really missing out. There's just
Right,
so much value to gain from your peers.
right. We will 1,000% touch on the community point because it's central to your story. Past, present, and future, and yeah, that's a great point.
Yep,
Also,
all of
cool.
the above.
Yeah, excellent. Very cool. Great. Well, I think folks are filling up the stream, and so we'll probably go ahead and get started. Obviously, I'm Bryce Roberts, VP of Marketing here at Axcient. We have an amazing partnership with Robert and Progressive Computing, and so wanted to have him on the stream. Wanted to really help us launch this live stream, which in the future will host luminaries from MSPs, from other vendors, things that are pertinent. And of course, the objective is to add value to really give deep insights into what's driving the channel forward, where the tech trends, the sales and marketing trends, things that are moving things forward, and what better guests to get us going in that direction with that firepower, that momentum to get us going than Robert Cioffi. So, co-founder, CTO at Progressive Computing. Um, Please take it away. I don't want to butcher your intro and
No, you
your
got it
accent.
all good. I should hire you to no. So yeah, I mean, the only thing I guess I'll add is, or just to clarify, Yonkers, New York, which is where we're based, is just north of New York City. Where I'm sitting right now in my office in Yonkers is about 15 miles north of Midtown Manhattan. I only live another 5 miles the other way, so very, very close to, much to the chagrin of my family in Italy when I say that New York is the capital of the world. They insist that Rome is, but that's a topic for another time. And my business partner and I founded the company back in 1993. Yes, when we were 5 years old. No, we were a little older than that. But we're hitting our 31st year actually this month in about 10 to 12 days, somewhere in that ballpark. We will be actually 9 days now that I just did the math. We will turn 31.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. And we'll get into the story of the recent part of that history. But I mean, when you write when you have your biography or your autobiography written, that timeline is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
MSPs of all stages and forms are incredible, but that perspective that you bring to the table is even more impressive when we're about to kind of get into things. So
Appreciate that.
yeah, you and I 3 months flies by fast. You and I connected at IT Nation Connect. That's the
Yes.
last time I saw you in person. Our team was at Evolve, like you just said, in Florida recently. Yeah, and I wasn't didn't get to be there, but it is always great catch up with you. I came on board Axcient in July, and I think August was that checkpoint for Evolve where I got to meet you in Denver. You were one of the first folks that I got to meet on our partner advisory council in person. And it just struck me. I mean, you left a lasting impression, and we've kept in touch since then. It's been great.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Bryce, and you as well. I mean, I always admire the leadership team of uh, the vendors or solution partners that we've decided to align ourselves with, and certainly Axcient is at the top of the list. There's people come and go over time for sure. That's just
Of
natural.
course.
But everybody that I've ever met over the years, I think it's 15 years now that we've engaged with, formerly eFolder, now Axcient, has always been very impressive. And it's one of the sort of, I mentioned community earlier as an underpinning of everything that I look at. It's important for us to want to do business with people that we know, like, and trust, much like the way our clients buy from us, right? They don't buy technology
Right.
services from us. They buy the relationship. They buy that trust and confidence. So it's definitely a two-way street.
100%. Amazing. I know a lot of people are here to hear the tale, and I mean, we could go on for hours and hours and hours, and we won't. We promise not to. But
Yeah, we can.
um,
I'll try to
but
keep it as high level, but give it at least enough meat on the
high
bone.
level, relevant. I mean,
Yeah,
you know exactly what people want to hear, and
totally.
this is your genuine, amazing story. But for the benefit of folks who have not talked to you, 5 times in the past or whatever, July 2021 kind of set the stage, kind of what happened, and then obviously we're going to talk a little bit more about last month or a number of weeks ago, and you in Dallas in a courtroom unmasking the cyber criminal behind the attack on you.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to keep it brief for the benefit, just assuming that there's people out there who have not heard this story. And it's funny because people who said who they have heard it still sort of lean in and pick up little different things that I say here and there. But
Of
it
course.
was July 2nd of 2021, a beautiful day here in New York. If you're from the Northeast or the Midwest, you know that days, beautiful days, 10 best days of the years, things that you look forward to in life, because the winters can be harsh, right? They can
Mhm.
kind of suck. Like right now, literally outside my office is a couple of inches of ice on the ground everywhere. We got 7 or 8 inches of snow yesterday, and it melted, and then the temperature dropped. So guess what? That's a formula for ice. Anyway, so we were all feeling really good about the upcoming Independence Day weekend, and Independence Day was being celebrated on the 5th, which was Monday. The mood was light. Everybody was just kind of getting ready for taking off early. And it was about noon. I was sitting in my kitchen, and my director of operations came up to the second floor where I was sitting, and I just knew that something was wrong in the way he was moving, walking, just the expression on his face. And it felt like the cliche of a movie where, I said to myself, I actually said out loud to somebody who was in earshot, I think somebody just died, right? Like that was the physical impression and emotional impression I got from looking at Jay from like 40 feet down the hall.
Mhm.
And, and I'm kind of accelerating through the story here a bit, but, I got up, I went to greet him in the hallway because I felt like I needed to, understand what was happening. And it took him a bit of effort to get the words out of his mouth, but, he said all of our customers are ransomware. And that was just too surreal to process. Like, come on, like what do you mean all? Like
Right.
that's an impossibility.
Define all.
Yeah, but like, and so at first I'm kind of like shrugging this off. Now, I don't know if I was in the state of denial, probably. Any psychology people out there, you can do the psychoanalysis on me as we go here. I was probably in a state of denial, but I think that inquisitive technical brain that I have, the whole reason why I started the company was as a technician. I'm trying to understand the nature of the problem. What's going on here? And after a few moments of him rattling off name after name after name, and we have a little debate, but we can kind of joke and laugh a little bit about it now. He denies he did this, but I'm pretty sure he did it either subconsciously or consciously. He started to name which customers. What do you think, Bryce? Which customer names do you think?
Yeah. Give me a guess. A. Yep.
Yeah,
C. Yep.
yeah.
Have. Yep.
the
B.
big ones, right? The
Right.
ones that represented the most revenue to us, and
Right. Right.
it started to impact me, right? And suddenly my jovial mood, set by the weather and the time of year and it being Independence Day, really started to press in on me and weigh upon me. And again, there's a lot of like movie cliches here, that it as bright and sunny and clear skies as it was outside, the inside of the office darkened,
Mhm.
and that darkness did not lift for what would become weeks and maybe even months later, before light started to feel like the office started to resume to normal. So that's a little bit of a foreshadowing of what happens,
Yeah.
in this story. But the particular of what the hell happened was that, we were a Kaseya VSA customer on that day, and a threat actor had exploited a 0-day vulnerability,
Mhm.
which had been discovered months prior to this. Everything I'm telling you, by the way, is fully documented.
Yeah, it's on
It's
Wikipedia.
news
That's right.
articles. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
everywhere. Like, I'm
Yeah.
not telling you any secrets, and I'm not embellishing anything. I'm
Mhm.
trying to be as factual as I can here.
Of course.
So it was a few months earlier that a threat researcher had discovered the 0-day exploit. And by the way, this happens all the time. It's
Mhm.
probably happening right now. Somebody's found something and then it gets reported, and everybody wants to keep quiet about it because we don't want that bad news to get out, for threat actors to take advantage of it while, the developer scrambles to, patch. Speaking of which, people sometimes ask me, like, were you fully patched? Yes, we were on the very
Mm.
latest version, very latest
Fully
patch
updated.
version.
Yeah.
We had followed all recommended security protocols for
Mhm.
configuration, but a threat actor had bypassed our multi-factor authentication, all administrator level passwords, just simply walked right through a back door,
Right.
into our system, uploaded Revel Sode No Kibi ransomware as an executable, and then, crafted a script to download and run that executable on every single endpoint that we manage. So 2,500 endpoints, of which were about 250 servers
Mhm.
and 22 some odd hundred PCs. Um, Almost all of them. I mean, I say 100%. All of them that were online, if that thing was plugged in and
Right.
on the internet
It
that
got
day,
it. Yeah.
it got it.
Yeah.
And so what
And
we go ahead, go ahead.
not to
Yeah.
cut you off, but not just you. I mean, the point of it was it was a supply chain attack throughout
Correct,
the install
correct.
base.
There were, so we were one of about, 50 to 60. There's some kind of loose estimates out there,
Mhm.
how many victims, there were, or Kaseya, customers were affected. I'll just give you an example. There's I know it was the Swedish supermarket Co-op was a client of a large MSP, and I believe they are Swedish based also, that used Kaseya VSA at the time to manage all the cash registers for the co-op supermarkets all throughout Europe. So they have 800 stores. And again, just Google it. You're going to find this. I think it was 500 out of the 800 stores were adversely affected. They had to shut
Crazy.
their doors. They couldn't operate, right, for
Right.
I think it was about a week. I can only assume employees were not paid. I don't know if that's true or not. I used to work in a supermarket. If you're not working part time, you're probably not getting paid. Maybe in Europe it's different. And then I just have to imagine perishables. Like what
Oh,
happens
yeah.
to things like milk and meat and eggs? Does it get thrown out because you couldn't sell it?
Right.
Um,
I mean, in this modern connected world, we live by the second, the minute, the post, and
yeah,
then
yeah.
these types of things, which are driven by technology, then take you offline for days, weeks, potentially months, and it's just unfathomable, honestly.
Certainly, certainly. So there was, just there are, another couple quick examples of other victims. There was a couple of kindergarten co-ops, or I don't know if co-op's the right word, but groups in New Zealand that were shut down completely. At least their IT was, right.
Mhm.
There were some municipalities throughout the United States. So think about it. An MSP like us, we had 80 customers on that day with 200 physical locations in 4 time zones, and that was just us. Like, I can only tell you for sure, I know what our numbers were. So there is no people, sometimes ask how many. Like, I don't think we're going to fully ever know
Of
how many,
course.
because a lot of victims don't necessarily just raise their hand and say, "Hey, guess what? I'm a victim too."
Right.
Right? A lot of people want to keep it quiet, don't want to talk about it, may not report. So, the estimates are just the estimates. And then even if we know how many Kaseya victims there were, I'm sure Kaseya knows. But then how would they even know how many customers they were supporting
Of
and were
course. Because
affected?
it's when they're
So I heard an estimate. I think, I read it in an article once. The estimate is in excess of 1 million endpoints were encrypted that day.
insane.
Yeah.
And so let's put a pin on that. We'll talk about the importance of putting a face to the crime, and that's absolutely part of this next phase of the story.
Yeah.
But I guess before we get into that, if you could just boil it down, some folks on the stream have not heard your the real crux of your story, which I mean is super evident by this point. But what is it? Is it protect yourself better? Is it to be more vigilant? Is it to be more strategic? Like, what's the takeaway for everyone?
Yeah. Like, is there a single takeaway, Bryce?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, if I really had to put one thing ahead of everything else, it's not so much that I would say, go do this or go do that or go check that checkbox. And I'm going to keep coming back to it. You're going to be sick of me telling you this word community. If you expose yourself to the community, if you invest, is really the right word I'm trying to say there. If you
Hmm.
invest your time, energy, and money into the community by developing relationships, not just with solution partners, but with your peers, and other people in this industry, or listening to subject matter experts that they bring into the conversation, you will learn a lot of things, and you will find your blind spots, and you will be exposed to things that you normally wouldn't have ever been exposed to. I'm just going to give you a quick example. I mean, I
Yep.
think everybody knows CIS controls now for the most part. Yeah,
Hmm.
of course, Robert, that's passe. But it was shortly after that. Well, I mean, the day of the attack, I didn't know what CIS controls was. And only because I started to get very heavily invested in learning more about cybersecurity is where I learned about CIS controls pretty early on, and found some people who were, were months, if not a year or so more ahead of me, that I made friends with. And guess what? Friends share information, and it helped us, on our journey there. And remember, cybersecurity is a journey, not a destination. So,
Right.
so that, like, if I really had to boil it down to one thing, it would be that. Because once you know,
Yeah.
right, once you have the information, then you can execute and act upon it. But if you're ignorant to the knowledge, then you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah. You're literally flying blind. So the investment you make into the community pays more than it's worth in dividends back to you. You get
Totally.
best practices, you get alignment, you get, in your case, folks who on a rainy weekend, I think is the way you tell the story, folks who are just going to come into your office and say, all right, what do we got to do? Let's roll up our sleeves and let's get this done.
Yeah, I mean, that was a Friday afternoon, and it took a while kind of for everybody to like figure out what the hell was going on, right? And all of our friends were, on golf courses and doing the things that I wanted to be doing, like at barbecues. I had a boat ride planned on the Hudson River here. Like none of that happened for me, but I think it was Sunday, or it could have been Monday, where an Evolve peer group member of ours had put a message out to the rest of the membership saying, "Hey, look, these guys are like dead unless we help them." So, um, God
Road
bless his
trip.
heart. Kevin is he's a little bit of a salty guy, but if you know him, you love him. And he just, basically told everybody, like, get your asses to New York, like now. And he showed up with an L3 tech. Another guy came from Kansas with three of his engineers, and another guy came from Santa Barbara, California, with two of his engineers. So, like, immediately we had three business leaders, three MSP owners sitting in my office on that Tuesday
Hmm.
with six of their engineers, bulking up our staff, helping to divide duties, helping to make decisions and get things going, project manage some things that we needed to do. Because the recovery efforts are unlike anything that you do on a day-to-day
Of
basis.
course.
And we needed some people that we could trust with clear heads and minds
Right.
as well. Not that my business partner and I were not in charge or not thinking clearly,
But
but
it's scale and it's
yeah.
bodies at this point.
And
Right.
you need sometimes a little bit of counsel just for somebody to
Mhm.
even just to get into a conference room and vent a little bit, right? Like I can distinctly remember a few times when I did that, and it was worth its weight in gold, because just to get in there and scream a little bit and then go back to reality and start
Mhm.
keep fighting, was invaluable. But that was the tip of the iceberg, right? This was like Kevin lit the fires of Gondor. And if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, you know my references here. But it was the Riders of Rohan showing up just when the battle was lost, because
Right.
we faced this massive mathematical problem, Bryce. How the hell were we going to recover 250 servers and format and reinstall and reconfigure and put all the settings back and
Yep.
all the little particular nuanced things? Every MSP or a technical, person knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Giving a piece of putting a PC in somebody's hands is not like a 5-minute thing.
Right.
Um, it was a gargantuan effort, and the time was ticking, right? And my customers were only going to wait so long before
Mhm.
we could get to them.
Right.
So if it had not been for that help and the other people who had those people who initially sounded the alarm, and then more and more and more and more people kept showing up.
Mhm.
So it was unbelievable how the response of the community, and it still breaks me up. Like right now, I feel it on the inside. You're not
Yeah.
really seeing it on the outside. You may by the time this live stream is over, but it sneaks up on me, Bryce. I'm sorry if
I
I
know.
if I
Yeah.
get a little emotional, but
Yeah.
I think about like what the community did for us.
Right.
And then I meet people later, years later, even, oh man, I wish I knew you. I would have been there. And I'm like, I know you would have been. And
Yeah.
that's what tugs at my heart, and which makes me so passionate about community, because that's what saved us. Not a tool, not a
Mhm.
technology, although
Mhm.
Axcient, Replicate technology was worked flawlessly. 250 servers, 250 restorations, perfect,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
We had one or two little hiccups here and there, but like natural things that you'd go, oh yeah. But we essentially lost no data. It was just more of we couldn't do them fast
Of
enough.
course. Yeah.
Um,
You needed the people with the expertise. You needed that community
Absolutely.
and obviously a great system in the background. I had a MSP roundtable with Dennis Cockrell yesterday, and he's a massive fan of yours. He heard your story, Ride a Boom, and that this was like a eureka moment for him, and he's completely transformed his business as a result. It sounds like the three of us will actually be able to connect at Ride a Boom here in a couple
That's awesome.
weeks
Yeah.
in Vegas, which is great. So I guess what I'm trying to say is you were talking about the importance of community, how much that helped you, and since then, you have been a champion. You've been a warrior. You've been a person in the community, screaming from the rooftops and supporting others and standing up this extra level of support. So I definitely want to get into the Dallas courtroom appearance, because I think
Yep.
this is like the next chapter of the story that people need to hear about. But within this framing of, you understand the give and take. You understand it's an investment. It's not a cost. It's like you're facilitating two groups, simultaneously at Evolve, which is kind of rare. And so I don't know if you want to go into that more, or talk about the next chapter, but you are now more than paying your dues. Like you're out there putting in the work, and your gratitude is evident in everything you do, and the motivation is super clear of
Yep.
why you're helping people.
And listen, I can write checks back to all those people. In fact, we did some rather large ones, because we couldn't let them go unpaid for their travel and the time that they spent here, as well as the opportunity cost of not serving their own customers while they're futzing around here in Westchester County, New York, helping us through that event. So this is, what you said has touched upon why I feel like my only real recourse, other than writing a check, is to pay it forward.
Mhm.
And that's what motivates me to um, to push this agenda, to be transparent, to let the world know the details of what happened, because I am not smart enough, big enough, strong enough, resourceful enough to combat threat actors directly, right? I'd lose that battle. Like if you put me in the octagon with one of them in a digital octagon, I'd lose 1,000 out of 1,000 matches, and it would be bloody, not in my favor. But I thought about, well, what can I do? Like these people are behind enemy lines. They're in countries where there's no extradition. They're laughing at us.
Right.
They may be laughing at me. So what can I do? And I searched, and that's when I found, like, it just became really crystal clear to me that the way to do that is to motivate the community. Now, you mentioned a gentleman that said, and I've heard this story, it brings a tear to my eye to hear these things, that, I heard Robert's story, and, I changed my business because of
Hmm.
that. Like,
Hmm.
that's it right there. That's how I fight the bad guys. And that's how
Right.
you can fight the bad guys,
Right.
is by listening to others. Don't listen to me, listen to each other,
Right.
right?
Right.
The power is within us to be able to fight back and lift us as an industry up, right? And we all need to do better. Vendors need to do better.
Absolutely.
MSPs need to do better. Employees need to do better. Even our clients need to
Clients
do
need to do
better.
better. That's right. You have to have that awareness and that strategic imperative rather than, oh, I'm paying you, just take care of all this stuff. I mean, there's steps that they obviously need to take to make this a priority. Like
Yeah.
this is about it. We all have to fight. Sorry to cut you off.
No, 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 no. I think, you put the exclamation point on what I was trying to say there. It is no one man's accountability or one woman's responsibility or
Hmm.
one business's sole mission to fix this. If you're hearing anybody say, I'm going to fix this, or we're going to fix this, or like that's snake oil, right?
Hmm.
Nobody is going to individually do that. It is the United States of America. United we stand, right? Like that is where I'm drawing my inspiration from, is and having experienced peer groups since 2010, when I first joined what was then HTG, and saw the power of people just humbly helping each other.
Right.
It's changed my thinking. And I'm just recycling that idea. I'm not being innovative here. I'm just recycling that idea and saying, hey, you know what? Strangers can help each other. Like,
Hmm.
you don't need to be in an expensive peer group. Just tell me you're an MSP and I will help you.
Right.
I mean, shoot, even if you're not an MSP, I might help you.
Hmm. Yeah, the channel and the community is such an interesting space. You don't see that in every industry with every segment and everything, but the way that this is structured is community absolutely works. We know it works. It's a proven model. You choose your flavor.
Choose your flavor.
Yeah,
Yes.
choose your flavor. There's a lot out there. There's a lot of offerings,
But
and
consume. That's the
but you feed
consume, please.
yourself right and don't miss out because
Yeah.
you're literally like just kind of thinking you can ask ChatGPT all the questions about how to run your MSP and that's going to sort out for you. That's not going to work out great.
Nope.
Um, let's dive into this next level. Like I think the storytelling level of your personal experience is the story. It's not we can read Forbes reports all we want and business articles and things. You got to in Dallas, remind me of the date, stare down
Yep.
the attacker that almost crippled your livelihood, your business, your clients,
Well,
and you got to look that person in
did,
the eyes.
fortunately, we were able to uncripple ourselves, but just,
Right.
for everyone's benefit, or for those that don't know, so Yaroslav Vasinski, this was October of 2021, 22-year-old Ukrainian national at the time, so he's probably 24, 25 now, was crossing the Ukraine-Polish border, was apprehended by Interpol and the Polish authorities, law enforcement. And, just long story short, FBI/Department of Justice ended up getting him extradited to the United States. He landed in Dallas, Texas. No other state in the country I can think of a better place for a cyber criminal to land. If you're from Texas, I love you. Well, I love everybody anyway. I don't care what state you're from. And that's from a New Yorker, by the way. Yeah, so here he is in a Dallas jail cell, or in their custody. Months later, pled guilty to, I think it was 9 out of 10 charges. All of this is public information. It's right on the Department of Justice's website, and pled guilty. And so I kept getting letters in the mail about sentencing. Sentencing is next month or 2 months from now. And I'm like, great, I'm going to go there. By the way, you can read a victim impact statement. I was like, cool. I didn't know that that was a thing. That's a thing. Okay, maybe I need to do that thing. And so I guess, without, and I don't mean this negatively, I mean, the wheels of justice have whatever is going on behind the scenes that none of us are really going to know about and probably should know about. But the sentencing date kept getting pushed and pushed and pushed. And then finally I had a communication that said, no, it's January 18th of 2024 and it's happening. And I'm like, great, I'm coming to do my victim impact statement. So I went into the courtroom. There were a few Axcient folks that live in the area that came with me. One of my brothers, who happens to live in Dallas, was also there. Somebody from Huntress showed up. 2 gentlemen from VAR staffing showed up. And I had the opportunity to, speak my mind to the court and to the judge. Now, he was there, yellow jumpsuit, shackled at wrists and ankles. So exactly what you can think about in a movie. Movies are not that far off, at least in that case. Surrounded by 2 U.S. Marshals, of course. The courtroom had all of its, court people, the prosecutors, the defendant, his attorney, as well as the translator, a bunch of FBI agents who were sitting, in the courtroom, and then the group of people that I mentioned, and me. And I'm looking around the room going, where are the other victims? Right? None other showed up. But I'll fast forward a little bit here just for time. And I was given the opportunity to present my victim impact statement, and it is now a part of, I guess, the case file. I don't know if it's public record or not, but I wrote it out, and I just read it aloud. Now, someone had not criticized me. Someone said something to me online like, what makes you think going down there is going to change his mind? And my response to that was, you misunderstand why I'm going to Dallas. I'm not going there to change his mind. I'm going to change her mind, her as in the judge.
The judge.
Right? Because she has discretion over sentencing, in line between justice and revenge, and one's good and one is bad. And I wasn't looking for vengeance. I was looking for justice. And so I felt that the small business community, so forget MSP for a second here. Let's just talk about small businesses, which MSPs are an integral part of. We are the overlooked, undervalued engine of this economy in the world, right? When you hear about these cyber attacks, what names do you hear? Sony, Target, Home Depot, Colonial Pipeline,
23andMe
website got defaced. They're in the Pentagon, right? Sensational news. When progressive computing got hit, it was right on the Wall Street Journal headline news, right? No, it was not. Oh, wait, it was on CNN. Oh, no, it was not, right? But Fox News like nobody friggin' covered this. Nobody came to our aid. No one said they're too big to fail. You see where I'm going with this?
Absolutely. Yeah, it is the total scope of the attack made the news because of the scope. But who did it hit? It hit you. It hit your clients. It hit SMBs of all shapes and sizes. And that was the news, but they couldn't pick out 1 or 2 names because they had to name thousands, and they weren't going to do that. So
so collectively, I felt like it was my mission to kind of just jam that flag into the hilltop and say, no more. You got to hear me. You're going to listen to me, what I have to say. And I won't say that I delivered a powerful message. All I will tell you is that what I heard from everyone in that courtroom who spoke to me after said, wow, like that was really powerful. And I heard from multiple sources felt like I had the judge's attention. Now, I mean, she's got a job to do. I've looked up her background. She seems like super solid. She's got to follow the law. I don't know if I affected her in any kind of way or not. But I think it was, even if I didn't get to affect her in that way, I just felt it was important that the MSP and SMB community had a voice just to say, hey, we're kind of pissed.
Yeah.
And this is BS. And you know what? We're not going to be faceless, nameless victims anymore. We're
Yeah.
going to stand up for ourselves and we're going to talk about this. And if we can't get our pound of flesh that way, we're going to continue working in the community to be better and do better.
Hmm.
Right. So I just, felt it was really important to say for the record what happened and how it affected us emotionally and psychologically. Bryce, I even said in my impact statement that, I don't have a diagnosis of PTSD. I will not go and do that. I told you there's a little psychological exam here.
Yeah.
Um, but I feel that, like, I
Of course.
know now, I think I know what that feels like because there are times when it just catches up to me at random places, as I do a lot of writing about this. Like, there are times I got to stop because the paper is wet with tears.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying that to curry any favor or sympathy. That's
Right.
not what I'm looking for. I'm just telling you the God's honest truth here.
Exactly.
If you get hit, it's going to affect you way more than you think. It will affect you financially. It will affect
Yep.
your reputation. It will affect potential livelihoods, but it's going to affect you in ways that you cannot imagine emotionally and psychologically unless you've experienced something like that, some sort of trauma.
Yeah.
It screws with you.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, I'm blessed in the sense that I don't feel like I've ever woken up one day or had an event where it's like your livelihood and the future of your livelihood is now in on the balance or maybe being destroyed, and so completely valid feelings and you're sharing how that is, like what that experience is for you.
I'm telling you, like, where you see me right now is exactly where I was sitting on July 2nd of 2021 at about
Mhm.
12:30 PM, with the same screens, different camera, not that it matters, but, and here I was when I had that moment. Again, I'm not one of
Yeah.
those people, like, I'm always telling people, "Oh, you're suffering from the Hollywood syndrome." That's not the way real life works. I'm
Hmm.
telling you, Hollywood does all these crazy things about, "Oh, your life flashed before your eyes." I experienced that.
Hmm.
In real life, I'm telling you, I had images of all the parts of my life, the 31 years that I talked about, the blood, sweat, tears, toil that all of us go through to build this, life plans, financial
Yeah.
plans, retirement plans, college tuition. I thought I was going to have to tell my daughter to come back home from college and that she would
Yep.
not be able to finish her degree.
Yeah.
Those were things that were that times a
Of
hundred
course.
going through my head and
Yeah.
all simultaneously.
Yeah. Yeah. I literally can't imagine it. Like that's just absolutely insane. Um, so we're getting some comments. I
Yeah.
encourage this is a live stream. This is why we do it. Please ask comments, like ask questions. Robert, you touched on this a bit, but if you could elaborate a little bit. And I love the way you're framing of it. Of you showed up. Your intention wasn't to feel so mighty that you would be able to sway the whole pendulum of justice here, but you felt it was important to have a face to the crime and a face to the
Correct.
victim and to make your statement. If you hadn't gone and you were one of one, like who else would have done it in your place? And so what would have happened? What that outcome would have been? But the question is, do you feel the judge heard your message and it made a difference?
Um, I know she heard me, so I think she did an excellent job in leaning in and listening to me. And I don't think she remember, hearing is a biological function requiring your ears. Listening is a psychological function that requires your brain. And
Right.
I really feel intensely that she listened to me. Now, did it make a difference? I don't know, and I don't necessarily think that that was the most important reason for me to be there, but I want, as well as the prosecutors and the FBI agents that were there, and just everybody, like, even if they just say it didn't make a difference, right? But let me, if the judge is at a cocktail party talking to other judges and prosecutors and whatever, other people in the DOJ, and she recants what she heard, at least the emotional part, that means they're hearing us,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it might open up an opportunity for maybe us to invite them into our community or to be invited into their community.
Right.
And I think like there's this wall, and I don't think it was designed to be there intentionally, but we've got to we've got to create connections between different we've got to have connections with enterprise and enterprise with small business.
Yep.
We need those
Government.
law enforcement and
Yep.
government. We need to, politicians need to hear us. It's really everybody. And I think if I did one thing, I think it was I opened up, at least I started to crack open some of those communication lines.
Mhm. Yeah. I know you as a person, you're such a sociable, life of the party type of person, and you
Oh, I don't
connect
know
with
about
people,
that.
and it's probably your philosophy about things. They're like, let's be
Yeah.
a big community. Let's all talk and let's share. And
Yeah.
you don't judge people for you're right or you're wrong. Like you talk to people and you have your opinion, and people can share theirs. And so this meta understanding of that, of MSPs serving SMBs, or really any size company, honestly, but that's almost the hidden lifeblood of the country, of the backbone, not just North America, but overseas as well.
And
And
overseas as well, right? I don't mean to, make it seem like this is an exclusive U.S. problem or exclusively we're going to fix this, right? It
right.
requires international collaboration, right? We have a lot of countries around the world that we consider friends, and they're experiencing the same thing, right? And we
Mhm.
can help each other, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm not leaning towards catharsis or some kind of closure or conclusion. Don't want to try to force that, but if you step back, there's been years that's passed, and thank goodness that that person was apprehended, where others have just been able to continue to hide in
Correct.
non-extradition
Yep.
countries, and like the foolish move on his part, but that's great. So, what as you recap, is this some step? Is it a stage gate? Is it another milestone in the journey? Is the initial trauma really the learning, and that has propelled you in this path, and this happens to be happening over here? Kind of tell us your story.
Yeah, I mean, there's always, parallel things happening. I'm still also trying to run a business here, right? I'm trying to
Yeah.
be a good MSP and a good steward of my business, as well as, be a good community member, and then take up this mantle of how do I, energize others to fight back. You used the word catharsis earlier. Yeah, I think it was somewhat cathartic. It does help
Okay.
in the healing process for me. I don't think I'm ever really going to be fully healed from this.
Hmm.
It's a scar I'll carry, and a scar that will carry. There's many people here
Right.
that felt wounded that day and continue to bear that. Um, it's I don't want to, and again, I don't want to make it sound like we're coming to work crying every day. Not that at all. But it affects you. Like
It's damaging. Yeah.
there's been some incidents around here where it's like you think something may be going wrong, and you're like kind of having flashbacks, and
Right.
your heart's racing maybe a little too hard. And then you find out that it was really nothing, or it was very isolated kind of incident. But it gets you going. So, and then maybe in some ways, because we were able to come out the other side of this eventually, very singed, but still whole,
Hmm.
and recovering and doing better because of it. That last line I just said, we're doing better because of it. So this is where I'm a big believer in taking a bad situation and trying to make good out of it. Or people will use the analogy of making lemonade from lemons.
Yeah.
So I'm just doing my best to serve the best tasting, sweetest lemonade. As long as you're willing to have one with me, we'll all be better for it. It's really the only way I think, it's, I don't know if it's my wiring, my genetics, I don't know what it is, but my upbringing, I'm not sure. But I don't accept defeat. I can only accept that my fate is in my hands. And if I'm willing to do something about it, then I can change it.
Yep.
Um,
I mean, the evidence, the proof is in the pudding. You showed up, you took the trip to Dallas, you were there, one of one victim statement. And I personally, in my opinion, love your perspective of you weren't doing this in the sense of like, oh, I'm going to defeat this person, or I'm going to turn the tides of the case. you have a good perspective on things of there's a lot at play here. But you knew what you had to do, and you knew that you know that you're a fighter, and that you couldn't take this lying down, and that
Yep.
was the next step. So
Maybe they messed with the wrong guy. I don't know.
yeah,
But I'd like to think that I'm a mirror of the MSP community, because I know so many of you out there that are listening to me and others that are not. And you're all you're all hewn from the same stone and wood as I am.
right.
A lot of people say, I can't believe, some of the things that you did, if you hear the longer version of this, and I'm like, look, you would have done the same thing. I know you would have. I know you.
Circumstances. Yeah.
Right. And I know what you've done in your business. You would do the same thing. When you're put in that position, you're gonna fight like hell to get through it. And
Mhm.
you would do the same.
No, that's an awesome message. We've got a comment of how do we get others impacted to go to these hearings? More victim impact statements need to be heard so that
Yeah.
these crimes can have real punishment. Like logistically, what did you learn through the process? Like, how do you sign up, and like, what's even like the intake or the back end logistics?
Well, so the whole reason I knew about everything was because I raised my hand as soon as we were attacked that day by
Mm,
filing an IC3 report with the FBI.
okay,
And I had done some, that much I knew. I was studied enough in the subject that I knew that, I got to create, I know I got to go report this. I didn't know even really why, but I just felt that
that was
instinct
what you had to do. Yeah.
now I'm in their system. I'm named. They know who I am, right? And now they're communicating with me. And so, unfortunately, I think the answer is that a lot of victims are staying quiet.
Hmm.
They're they want this thing to go away as quickly as possible. They don't want to suffer the embarrassment. They are looking to just put their lives back together and forget the whole damn thing.
Of course.
I do not blame you if you are one of them. I
Right.
honestly
Right.
had thought about doing the same. So I am not special, but I am different.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I just felt like I can't keep quiet about this. Like, I just instinctually felt by sharing the story, something good will come out of this. So to answer the question, how do you get more victims there? I mean, I don't think you can, other than just continuing this conversation so that when, not if, it happens to one of us again, that they're willing to look back at people like me and
Right.
some of like my buddy Eric Woodard, who got hit 2 years prior to me. As he
Mhm.
says, he got hit when it wasn't cool to be hit. Apparently,
He's like a hipster, like before it
yeah,
was cool.
yeah, like getting hit. I was like, dude, like, really? You think it was cool for me to get hit? Like, well, it was a lot more acceptable. Like, people understood when I got hit.
Right.
People would like, uh, uh, you know, uh, 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 castigate you. They'd throw stones at you, and I'm like, well,
Mhm.
you're right. So the mood is shifting. So maybe the next iteration of this is, maybe Robert, in a very small way, has inspired other future victims to say, hey, you know what? There is no shame in victimhood, and there is strength in vulnerability. And damn it, I'm going to get up and stand up and lock arms with some others.
Yeah.
And maybe at the next case, there'll be 3 victims. And then the
Mhm.
one after that, there'll be 8. And then
Mhm.
the next one, there'll be so many people crowding the courtroom lobby that they can't fit them all in.
Yep.
Uh, I
I
don't
I couldn't no one could have said it better than that, right? That's how movements start. That like to me, obviously as a marketer, self-serving, it's story based, it's experience based via stories that you learn things. This is why we're having this conversation. People need to hear it, they need to learn it. Then again, it's so horrible to think about the when, not if, but that's a fact of technology and cybercrime. Of now we have a bigger network of more people more aware of it,
know.
and exactly what you said, like you're not judging people for not raising their hand. There's tons of shame and business complications, all kinds of stuff, but for those who want to make that decision, hopefully we spread that awareness and people are aware, more
Yeah,
apt to be able to do this kind of thing.
absolutely.
Dennis weighed in the comments and said, thank you for putting a face on that reality. Thank you for using this terrific experience to make our community better. Thanks for not staying quiet. Again, the three of us are going to have to grab a drink in Vegas at this next show that we're
Absolutely,
going to.
Dennis.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate you immensely. You're another strong voice in this community, so keep it up. And I'm reading the comments, and I recognize a number of names, including Jim Allen. If that is the Jim Allen that came to help us, let me tell you a very quick story about Jim Allen. If it is the same Jim Allen, I think it is. Jim showed up at our office, and with all the confusion here, there was so many unfamiliar faces, right? Like we knew our peers, but we didn't know their employees, right? And so Jim walks in the office and he looks at my director of ops and I, Jay, who are basically coordinating the recovery efforts, and checked in with us. We assigned him some duties, sent him off to a client, and then Jay turns to me and says, "How do you know Jim?" And I said, "I was about to ask you the same question. I don't know him." And what we came to find out later on, I'm giving you a short version of this, and this is how special this community is, right? If you're thinking that I've done something good, I want you to look inside the heart and mind of Mr. Jim Allen from Aces, Iowa. Here was a guy who heard about our story through a mutual friend and decided, unannounced, unasked, uninvited, to get on an airplane and fly to New York and park himself in a hotel for 2 weeks with zero expectation of payment to help us recover.
Insane.
I had one of my largest and oldest clients, the CFO, call me and say, "Who is this guy?" I'm like, "What do you like?" Here I am thinking I'm going to get a complaint. And Chris is the CFO's name. Chris says to me, he goes, "Robert, this guy's a machine. He is like killing it here. He's like flying through machines like nobody's business." So that is another reflection of what this community is made out of. Here is a man, God bless his heart. I hope he lives to be 1,000 years old. Well, I don't know about 1,000, but nobody wants to live that long. But let him live a long, healthy, fruitful, prosperous life because of the good that he did for us that day. That even though we have paid them, I can never repay him.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
That intensity, that effort, that caring, right?
Jim Allen, it is Jim Allen. He's chimed in.
Yeah, he said it is. So you the real MVP, as we say, Jim Allen.
So listen, if you see me and Jim Allen at a conference and you both identify both of us, don't buy me a drink, buy him a drink. Right? Right. Thank him.
Done.
Because that is what the spirit of this community needs more of.
Yeah.
He is a leader in that way because he didn't ask, he just picked up and went.
Yeah. And don't know you, Jim. I would love to see you on the road and catch up with you. But I imagine there's lots of folks, and all of us could be that, right? If we could have that intensity, that effort, that caring for the community, we could step up to that level, right? And that's what the community is about. Amazing.
Yep, sure.
If it's not too awkward, I want to shift gears to our Q&A portion.
Yeah.
Any last things that we didn't cover with the story, especially
just really quick, as I was reflecting back in August of 2021, what the hell just happened to me or us, and what do I do about it? One of the crazy ideas that I had, and I'll be quick about it, was to register a website, MSP911.org, because I thought about the help that we got and how fortunate we were to have so many friends, but then I thought about the 40, 50, 100,000 MSPs out there. I don't even know how many there are out there, but I don't see them all at all these conferences. So there's probably a lot that are staying quiet. Mm-hmm. I never wanted anyone to go through what we went through alone.
From scratch. Yeah, exactly.
And to feel isolated and broken in that way. I mean, it was bad enough what we went through, and to think that we had all that help. And from solution partners too, right? Axcient stepped up in a huge way to help us as well. As other companies, Huntress, ConnectWise, I mean, they all did a phenomenal job with and for us. But the idea there was, how do I put some resource up there to be able for an MSP to hit the giant, break glass in case of emergency, or the giant red button that I need help. And so long story short, I ended up hooking up with CompTIA. They had a similar kind of idea, kind of brewing. I've become the chairperson of now what is called the CompTIA Emergency Response Team. So if you go to msp911.org, it will redirect to them. I donated that domain name to them, by the way. So they own it now. I don't. I just have the privilege of being the chairperson and helping that whole movement get off the ground. And by the way, since uh, somewhere in Q4 when we went really, really live,
Mhm.
we've handled about 5 or 6 phone calls from various MSPs
Wow.
at various journeys of their like, yeah, I got hit with ransomware like 2 weeks ago, and my business is in like it's smoldering, it's in ashes right now. What do I do?
Mhm.
Right. And others, where there are more isolated incidents. They're all different. But this group of volunteers, it's totally free, is now trying to give back to the community. And so these aren't just words coming out of my mouth. I try
Right.
to make it tangible and real and touching the ground where we all live and breathe.
Mhm.
This is one way that we can do it. So if you go there at the bottom, there's a link for volunteers. If you want to help out, go ahead, fill that thing out. The form that you see, please don't fill that out on the screen because that'll open a case and people's cell numbers will start rolling.
Right, right.
That's like dialing 911.
Yeah,
Don't.
yeah, do not break the
Yeah,
glass if you're
yeah.
just curious, but
Unless you actually have a problem, then
yeah,
please, like, and
yeah,
this is one of those things where we want customers, but we don't want, and customer's not the right word. We want callers, but we don't want
of course,
callers.
of course.
It's
But
like,
that's the reality we live in. There's gonna be these strategies at the
yep,
individual MSP and owner level, and thank you for being at the forefront of this, having the conversations, and doing something about it in a structured form to have resources. That's awesome.
yep.
Very cool. All right, we're gonna go through some Q&A just to get to know you more. This is the Mystery Lounge. Everyone, hopefully you've propped your feet up, you've taken a break, you've heard a story. I know you're insanely busy, but we wanted to make this a safe space for comments, for people to relax and take in information, but also engage in the community. And as such, and going forward in our monthly live stream that we'll continue to do, we'll have a bit of a lightning round of what we call internally the hot seat. We bring in people into our team here. We like to do this Q&A kind of thing. So Robert, where did you grow up?
All right, good question. I was born in the Bronx. Maybe that's where a little bit of my bravado comes from. But when I was 5, we moved to Yonkers, which is just north of the Bronx. It's where I grew up, went to the public school system here, went to a local college. And it's funny, I left, if you know the airport, it's a small regional airport called White Plains, HPN for you travelers. And I was looking out the window just as we kind of took off, and I could see my house, the house I grew up in, where I was born, and when I lived in Manhattan for about 4 years, all in that little tiny
Oh, amazing.
window. I know a lot of people like, oh, I lived in LA and then I moved to Bangkok and then I moved to China. And then I'm like, wow, like I've lived in this little tiny window my whole life. So I'm a New Yorker, born, bred, raised. My parents are off the boat from Italy, literally off a boat from Italy, came here in 1959 with a trunk full of clothes and not even 2 nickels in their pockets to rub together.
Incredible.
And they had 4 sons. I'm the last of 4. Put us all through college, right?
Wow.
They lived the American dream, right?
Mhm.
They made it happen. Post World War II, conditions in Italy, economic conditions were not good, so they were part of that latter Italian immigration wave that came to the United States.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, amazing story.
yep. So that's where I'm from.
Very cool. You made it sound like you don't get out much, but I know you travel a ton for lots of things. What's your favorite city in the world?
Oh boy, I'm going to insult people by not telling them their city. I have an affinity for the homeland. I mean, I'm American through and through, right?
Yeah.
I've red, white, and blue for me. But y- my roots, my ancestral roots are Italy, and there's just so much in Italy that I love. It's outside the United, if I had to pick a place in the world to live other than the United States, if I was forced out for whatever, yeah, you never know, I might be forced out one of these days. It could be Italy. There's a
Cool.
small town near the town of Pisa, the Leaning Tower.
Mhm.
The town is called Lucca, Lucca. It's a medieval walled city. It
Ooh.
just speaks tremendous volumes to me because it started as an Etruscan settlement before the Roman Empire,
Hmm.
and has a long history through medieval times. It's just a fascinating place. My uncle, when I was there back in 2016, demanded that I drive there. My cousin gave me his car to drive around. So me, my two girls, and my wife, I was like, I don't know where I'm going. Zio, that's the word for uncle, and he insisted, go, go, go. You got to go there. You got to go there. He just knew. He wouldn't tell me why, but he knew I would love it, and I totally fell in love with that town. So uh,
Incredible.
you never know. You might find me there one day sipping wine on the
There you go. Yeah, it'll
bar.
be like the end of Batman Rises. Very weird reference, but you got to meet Alfred the butler in
Yeah,
some random cafe. Just nods to you, like maybe I'll find you there. Be like, all right,
yeah.
it's Robert. Cool. Your favorite Super Bowl commercial?
They were all terrible, man. Come on. I mean, I know there were one or two of them were pretty good. But what overwhelmingly why I said that was because I felt that they were all trying too damn hard, right?
Hmm.
And a lot of them came across as a bit disingenuous, like
Right.
forced comedy, forced like thinking about things that just were not nuanced,
Right.
unpoetic, uncreative. Um, hey man, give me $1 million. I'll design a Super Bowl commercial for you.
I
But
like
I
it.
want to take that answer and segue it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
for MSPs, there's a lesson to be learned here in shitty Super Bowl commercials.
Right.
And that is that when you come across as disingenuous, when you try too hard, when you try to speak in a way in front of a group of people that they can tell you're full of what,
Hmm.
um, like, don't do that, right?
Right. Right.
I would have rather have seen more commercials that were a little bit more genuine.
Hmm.
I actually really appreciated the Robert Kennedy presidential. I thought it was
Oddly enough, I was like, "Hey, I'm a sucker for retro. I have this Art
I
Deco kind of
I
vibe
thought
here."
it was
Like
cool.
that
I
was
mean, I'm
novel
not
and
a Robert
interesting.
Kennedy fan. I mean, and I don't mean to
Sure.
get into politics. I don't
Me
see
neither.
eye to eye with him politically, but
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, I might actually vote for you.
The look and feel of that, I was like, "Wow, someone really just went
Yeah.
for it, just
That
swung
was
for the
cool. I
fences
liked
with
it,
that ad."
right? But
Yeah.
but that's because he was being genuine. I
Mhm.
don't like the guy, but he was being genuine,
Yeah.
right? So you
Yeah.
got to admire that.
Good. I thought it would have been the Christopher Walken BMW because I know that you're a car guy. We
Ah, yeah,
when
yeah.
when we get into that,
Yeah,
we could talk for hours about cars,
yeah,
the both of us. But New Yorker, I assume from his accent and BMW. So, but yeah,
yeah.
that's kind of funny.
Yeah, but it wasn't an i8 like I drive, so
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Just the three series electric.
yep.
Um, Very cool. I think we want to talk about when we will see each other next and sort of calls to
Yeah.
action. So it turns out that we will both be at Ride of Boom, and I kind of introduced that poorly because you are the MC of Ride of Boom in Las Vegas, March 6th through 8th. Did I get the dates right?
March 6th through 8th. The pre-day is March 6th. So if you are registered,
Yep.
there are pre-day events in the afternoon. I believe they run like 1 to 5. And then the main event is is on the 7th and 8th, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, Andrew Morgan, who founded Write a Boom, just this, vision that he had and created this really special and unique event where I've learned a ton from. We had been talking throughout the year about me either co-emceeing or taking a small part in it. And then Monday, he was like, "Hey, why don't you just be the MC?" And I was a little flabbergasted by that,
Hmm.
but I'm really, really excited about this. I think it's just such a fun, good event. And I just feel so privileged to be a part of the event in the way that, listen, I'm not going to be driving any like mind-blowing topics or presentations. There's going to be plenty of
There's
great
amazing
presenters,
content. Yeah.
totally amazing content. I just have the privilege of just making sure everything flows and
Mhm.
I get to facilitate the Q&As, and maybe I'll just have a little bit of fun with it. So you never know
I bet you will, Robert.
what colored shoes I might wear. So
Yeah, exactly.
hint, hint.
So
You'll have
I'm thrilled. Of course,
to
like Axcient, we're on the road all the time. You can find us at pretty much any industry conference, and that's the one that I got to sign myself up for. So I'll be there. I keep alluding to this, Dennis. It sounds like you're going to be there.
Yep.
And anyone else in the stream or that sees this afterwards, please come by the booth, see me. You'll be on stage the whole time, so all they got to do is grab you as you come off the stage. And would love to chat more and just connect.
Yep.
This
Yep.
this idea of community
You're gonna
is
be there.
why we do this.
Please introduce yourself. I just, I really enjoy making more community friends, and the more connections I have, the stronger I am, the stronger you become as well. So,
Perfect. So that is one checkpoint, and I like to call it out because I
yep,
just had to recall last time I had a beer with you at was IT Nation Connect or drink,
yep,
and that was about 3 months ago. See you next month in March for Ride a Boom.
yep,
But you are as a partner of Axcient, a partner, capital P partner, going to be launching a mini series. I think we're calling it MSP Game Changers. And so, would you mind doing a little plug about the video
sure.
series that will start to release?
Yeah. So, for everybody listening, Bryce and I kind of put our heads together and talked about putting on a limited series podcast. And Bryce had a lot of influence on, what he was looking for. But the idea here is we're going to put on either an 8 or 9 episode sort of mini series and interview game changers, right? Really innovative MSPs who lead in a particular subject matter
Yeah.
that really represent all that's right in this industry, with the intention that we can get them to be a go-giver. Again, it's just the rising tide that lifts all boats, and
Mhm.
there's so many of us that are out there that are just willing to share publicly. So why not make a whole series out of that? Why not stitch together all those various disciplines that many of us, need a lot of help with, right? Sales, marketing, cybersecurity, culture, leadership. I mean, think along those lines. That's what we're going to be talking about, and I'm really excited to host that for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that'll be coming out from our social media platforms, from yours as well. So they must be game changers on the radar. And I believe those are the big call to actions for next steps. Of course, you've got your community, your resources as well.
Yep.
Anything else, Robert Cioffi? It's been always super fun, first of all, to talk
Yeah.
to you because we could just talk for hours about
Thank
anything,
you.
and you're the best. But yeah, anything that you want to leave us with?
No, just just listen. It's kind of funny. I'm gonna use a city that we've talked about already. So, like, Rome was not built in a day, and I know that's very cliche, right? But I think a lot of us feel like, man, I'm so far behind on the 8 ball. I got so many things that I got to work on in my business, and then I got to worry about all this like security stuff. Just like, just do one thing well today, or make a change this week, right? And it's almost like diet or exercise. Like, you're
Mhm.
not going to see results right away, right?
Mhm.
It takes time to keep investing both in the community and in yourself, back in your practice. So don't get discouraged by feeling like I have got all these different things that I've got to do and I don't feel I can get them all done. Just focus on one thing. I've started this new practice that every day when I come into the office, I write down the number one thing I've got to get done that day.
Mhm.
And my goal is, above all else, with all the distractions that I
Yeah.
get, is to get that thing done. And it feels, now I'm not, I used to have a list like, 40 items deep. I
Right.
never knew where the hell to start.
Right. Right.
So now I just pick one.
Yep. Pick the one
One, do it.
and yep, and knock that out, and that's progress, right?
Yep, totally.
And this world is so easy to feel you're constantly behind the 8 ball with AI and tech and
Oh my goodness.
trends and this and that, the other. You're putting one foot in front of the other. You're moving forward, and you're solving problems for your MSP, for your clients at your MSP.
Yep.
I totally forgot to do this. I don't know if you're a Simpsons fan, Robert, but
Yes,
this
I am.
reference is an old Simpsons Valentine's thing. Do you remember Ralph, like the kind of awkward kid on the bus?
Yeah.
So I choose you, Robert Chaffee.
Oh, I didn't realize that I was so loved.
Yeah, you are by the community, not just me, by everyone.
I appreciate that. It warms my heart to see that. So thank you.
Excellent. All right. This has been amazing. I think we've checked in all the comments. Thanks for checking those and talking to people. We Axcient will do this every month. MSP Experience Lounge live stream. Love your comments. Love people attending, joining, asking questions, and super look forward to your series as well, Robert.
Yep. And hey, for everybody who tuned in today, really appreciate your time. want to thank you for that, because time is so precious. But thank you for making the investment in you. Is
Yeah,
really what you're doing. You're investing in you.
absolutely.
So thank you for that.
Yeah. The time in the community is dividends back to you.
Totally.
100%.
Yep.
Great. Thanks so much, Robert.
Okay. Thank
Appreciate
you.
your time. Yep.
All right.
Good to see you.